Now that we're officially getting the Snyder cut of Justice League, all of the focus seems to have shifted to getting a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad. Will we actually get that though? Let's talk about that right now. Hello everybody and welcome back to another movie news video. My name is Joker and today we are discussing David Ayer and the potential of getting his cut of Suicide Squad. So after campaigning for years and years and years, we finally have the official confirmation that we've talked about before that Justice League, the Snyder cut, is coming out to HBO Max next year. Now because of that, the internet has been flooding with comments and speculation on getting other director's cuts from other movies. One of which being David Ayer's Suicide Squad. And I'm 100% on board with actually getting his cut of Suicide Squad, considering the actual movie we saw in theaters back in 2016 was hot garbage. Now I will say that I liked the film in some aspects. For the majority of it though, it was a horrible movie. Even though at the box office it did somehow succeed, getting about $747 million worldwide, which is definitely not a failure by any means, but it is shocking how much money it made compared to the awful storytelling and the horrendous editing that was Suicide Squad. So looking back at it all, with the Snyder Cut becoming a real thing and getting a completely different version of a movie that already exists, is this a smart play to go back and do the same thing with other properties, not just in the DC Warner area, but in all aspects of film? Some say yes, some say no, and others I think it just depends on the context. At first glance, I definitely think yes, David Ayer should get his shot at releasing the movie he was hired on board to do. Basically because when you look at it, when a company like Warner Brothers approaches a director to film something, and they don't let them film it, what are you hiring them for? My roommate made a comment about it, and I completely agree. It's that if you hire someone on to film a movie, you should allow them to film that movie. And I'm agreeing with this simply because if you hire a director to film a movie for your company, what's the point in hiring a director, having them film the movie, only for the company to come in and take over that movie 2 months before release, change the entire movie, and then put it out in theaters and it become an absolute catastrophe of a movie? Because David Ayer has gone on record many times and said that his version of Suicide Squad has never been seen. If we look back to the original trailer for Suicide Squad, it showed a very dark and gritty film, which is what some of us were wanting. Suicide Squad is not necessarily a happy topic. It's a group of villains that have been put together to do good, with the chance that if you guys die out in the field, sucks. Sorry to be you, but that's just how it goes. So this doesn't have to be a happy, exciting film. This is, telling the true story of what goes on with the Suicide Squad. And then for Warner to come in and take over the project and completely change it, I think that's just pointless. Like, what was the whole point in hiring a director to do this movie that you okayed to begin with? Then they come in and change it completely. Not only that, but when they took over the film, they handed it over to a trailer editing firm to complete editing on the film. And it shows. The movie is edited so poorly to the point where when we were sitting in theaters getting ready to watch it, we went through the trailers, and then randomly the movie just started. Like, there was no actual intro into the movie. It just kind of popped up on the screen, and there it was. The opening cuts were so jagged and complex, it just looks like you were hopping around the whole place, and it was really jarring to try to follow. And even as the movie progresses, if you go back and really critically look at all of the cuts and edits made in the film, it doesn't really work out because it was a completely different use of footage put together by a trailer editing firm instead of the actual Warner Brothers studio. And on top of that, most of the footage we see in Suicide Squad did not come from the original vision that David Ayer had. Going back to it, he even mentioned that really the only scene that came from his true vision was Diablo's backstory with him killing his whole family. That was something that actually came out of his vision. That was a very dark film that we have already discussed. That was the only thing, so everything else about the film was pretty much reshot and redone around the idea that David Ayer originally had. But just because I want this to happen, will it actually be something that comes out? I want to say yes, but at the other side I want to say no. Now, David Ayer has gone on record and said that it would be very easy to finish this film because it's practically done. There's some small edits here and there, I imagine, is what this means. And I say that with a grain of salt just because I know that everyone at some point believed that the Snyder Cut was finished, on reel, on the shelf, you could just pop it in and it'd be finished and ready to go. That wasn't the case. Was the movie done 100% ready to come out at a moment's notice? Absolutely not. There was still a lot of filming and post-production that had to be done. That is why he has requested and has gotten about $20 to $30 million to finish the film before it comes out on HBO Max in 2021. So on the same side with David Ayer, is there some sort of a budget he needs to finish the movie? I don't know. I imagine there probably has to be some form of a budget he needs to finish it, But from what he says, it doesn't sound like it's going to be that meticulous as having to do reshoots and re-edits and all that. It might be some smaller things and then it's done. But he's made it seem like it is a much easier task to finish this movie as compared to Justice League. Not saying that one should come out over the other, but just saying, if you guys want to do this, it's a very simple fix, and then it's ready to go whenever someone says it's okay to do that. Whether or not that's going to happen, I think if it happens, it's going to depend on the success of the storytelling and the viewership that HBO Max gets from Zack Snyder's Justice League. Now, as we're already aware, it's going to be a very different film. We're going to be seeing stuff that was not even mentioned in Justice League. We're finally going to see Darkseid. We're finally going to see the black-suited Superman that was teased so much, and we all wanted to see that, and then nothing. What did we get? We got a CGI'd mustache that was taken off of Henry Cavill's face. But then that goes back to my concerns that if Zack Snyder's Justice League is miraculously different and amazing, like, the first Justice League movie, it's okay. It's not great by any means. But if Zack Snyder's cut is phenomenal, let's just assume it's like the best movie ever made. Obviously, overstating the fact. But if it comes out to a point where this movie is absolutely incredible, and they say, yeah, let's do the same thing with Suicide Squad. We get David Ayer's cut of Suicide Squad, and it also is incredible from the beginning. The original ideas for the films were fantastic as opposed to what the studio did when they got a hold of them. What is that setting for DC and the DCE to follow? Because there are a lot of movies that take place after Justice League as of right now. Aquaman and Shazam both take place after Justice League. So if you alter these two movies, what's going to happen to the rest of the films that are coming out? You got to have some leeway there. So if you're going to put those out and they become great and you say, let's use these as the actual canon films in the DCEU, that's going to change a lot of stuff down the line. Now, Birds of Prey may take place after Justice League, I'm not sure, but it does tie into my next point, and that is, if David Ayer gets his cut of Suicide Squad and it comes out on Blu-ray, HBO Max, whatever they're doing with it, and it's a huge success yet again, what does that mean for the Suicide Squad, the supposed spiritual sequel reboot in a way that James Gunn is now in charge of? Because it's brought back some of the original characters from the Suicide Squad movie that we got in 2016, but they're supposedly different. I don't know if it's supposed to be a true sequel or if it's a reboot, and if they're trying to replace it in some way. But what's going to happen to the continuity there? If that's going to, what's it going to mean for James Gunn? Is he just going to be in a hole now because they have this new Suicide Squad movie that was so much better the first time around, but they decided to change it and put it out in theaters, and which is causing the Suicide Squad? And even then, you can tell that the first Suicide Squad movie is still kind of in continuity just based off some of the things that happens in Birds of Prey. Obviously, yeah, there's the breakup that Harley has with Joker, but even then, when she's leaving the prison precinct, there's a moment where she stops and sees a wanted poster with a picture of Jai Courtney's version of Captain Boomerang, when she says, oh, hey, I know that guy. Obviously because he broke out after being put back into prison at the end of Suicide Squad and is appearing again in James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. So what is going on there, and how is that going to tie in if they discover that a David Ayer cut could be way significantly better than the one they already released? And I know that's a lot of information and a lot to think about when it's coming to this, and I'm not saying that the Zack Snyder cut or the potential of a David Ayer cut is going to be the best thing ever, and they're going to choose to take those two movies over the theatrical releases that we already got of Suicide Squad and Justice League. But if they're better, what happens next for DC, and what does this mean for the future films that are already set to go into production? As of right now, everything's been put on hold because of the COVID-19 pandemic, so there's some time to change some stuff around, even though some pre-production and shooting had already begun on some of these movies before they were shut down. But what's going to happen when all clear and everyone can go back to the studio and start filming again? Is the continuity going to change because they decided to release the Zack Snyder cut and the potential David Ayer cut? And, again, keep in mind, this has not been confirmed. This is just the conversation now, since Zack Snyder finally got his way after 3 years of fans campaigning for this movie. Is the same thing going to happen for David Ayer? I'm not sure. I'd be okay with it, but if this movie turns out to be better, what does it mean for DC? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you want to see a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad? Or did you like the original cut as it was? And the same thing with the Zack Snyder cut. Do you think both of these movies coming out with the potential of them being better than the original ones that were already put out in theaters? Do you think that's going to affect Warner and DC as a whole? Or do you think they'll just put them up there and say, These are here. They have no bearing on the actual DC universe we've created, but they are here for your viewing pleasure. Let me know in the comments down below. I want to talk about it. But until I get any more news on any confirmations on if we're doing a David Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, if it's going to affect James Gunn's version of the Suicide Squad, and if Zack Snyder's Justice League becomes the new canonical thing, that is going to be it for this video, guys. Remember, if you like what you saw, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments down below if you want to see more movie news videos or if you'd like to see anything else. But until then, and as always, I will see you guys next time.